Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Welcome back to Houselights, our director discussion show here on the Nerd Party Network. We're starting a new house this week with animation director Don Bluth with some of his selected works from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. I'm local cinder block manufacturer Darren Moser, and I'm joined again by my friends, local field mouse Mr. John Millsby, and from the National Institute for Mental Health, Dr. Tristan, I left the cage door open, Riddell. Let's set your mind back to a time of cell-drawn animation and magic, as we're going to talk about 1982's The Secret of NIMH. What you're dissatisfied with your position, Tristan?
I'm the dude who experiments on animals.
All I said is you left the cage door open. I didn't draw any parallels to the horrors of needle injection, because we see a lot of that in this movie.
I think it's a fair sort of thing. If we were to draw the comparisons here, I could see that.
Look, Riddell goes into E very well at the end. Okay, I'm sorry, I had no choice.
That's true.
Well, I don't allow pets in my house, so my kids would probably be the ones that would say that about me. Yeah.
Well, yes. So, man, this movie, I am excited because not only are we starting a new house with Don Bluth, I mean, Don Bluth is it is one of the names in animation for, we talk about directing. There is a Don Bluth style. Like he is very recognizable, like a Don Bluth character. Plus, I think like the same like chubby cheek dad is like in 3 of these movies. So we'll get to that. Not in this one, but it's just one of those things where, we have to start with talking about Don leaving Disney. So Don Bluth was a Disney animator for Sleeping Beauty, like tons of movies. And then in 1979, when he was 42, he was done and left and took a chunk of Disney's animators with him. And they founded, Don Bluth Productions. And you were talking about shaking up the industry. So this was their first film. This was we got to make some money back so we all don't starve movie. But my mind's racing because there's so many things to talk about. But John, let's start with the beauty of this movie. Just the visual, like, just pleasure you get from what you're seeing. How did this first impact you visually when you first saw it?
The first time I saw it was because my girlfriend at the time found out I had not seen it. And this was one of those core movie memories for her from childhood. And she's like, oh, you have to see this movie. And so I watched the movie. And I think that as we go through this exploration of Bluth's work, it's completely fair to say that regardless of what type of journey the movie takes you on, it is always going to be beautiful. I mean, this is... I don't know whether it's just a knee-jerk reaction, whether it's sentimentalism in some regard, but because of the era I grew up in, this type of animation, I'm immediately drawn to it. This has an authentic feel to it, and that authenticity extends to the way the color palette's used, to the way that the characters move. There's a certain flow to the way things go, and it's not as it's more refined, but in the same fluid spirit as when Disney was in the Xerox era, right? Because they were doing the Xerox so that the movie, and it's like, this is the evolution where they were like, oh, you're looking for movement that is this smooth, but we're going to do it all the way for you instead of in a cost conscious fashion. We're going to actually go from A to B to C to D and go through. And yes,
just to interject real quick, Darren, did they do color Xerox for the first time?
From what I know, they did do Xerox, but the difference was that they erased the sketch marks.
Yeah, the pencil lines.
They did extra steps in the Xerox process and then cell shaded everything. So you had a little bit of the benefit, but you did also take extra steps to get that higher quality Xeroxing.
Whereas when you look at something like Sword in the Stone,
Yeah.
you still see those lines on there, and it's like, yeah, come on, this is that evolution that everybody was sort of like, oh, okay, this is what it should look like.
Exactly. So, we'll get to some of the techniques later. Like I said, my mind's racing. But Tristan, this was your first time watching The Secret of NIMH. So, as our usual question, what did you know about it? Had you seen a poster of it? Did you pronounce it NIMH, as some people do? But tell us about that journey to watching this.
This is going to be a really quick comment because I knew nothing, not a single thing.
That's going to give us a great story as you tell us what you experienced.
I saw the poster. I had no idea that the bird on the poster was a crow. I thought it was a dodo. Honestly, I thought it was like the last dodo or something like that. But it was a mouse. I knew it was involved a mouse, and that's it. I didn't even know it was Don Bluth. This was not in my vicinity whatsoever. Not my sphere. No one talked about it. No friend had it on their shelf. My grandma did not say, "Hey, let's watch this." None of that happened. This was you guys saying, "Hey, let's do House of Bluth and let's start with Secret of NIMH." I'm like, okay, starting fresh on this one.
I'll take your word that that's actually a Don Bluth picture. Here we go. Well, that's awesome. Well, okay, then let's take it then into the story because, this movie is packed with magic, with secrets. It's often criticized as being very dark. Now, it is dark visually, just there's a lot of nighttime. There's a lot of shading. It's not a bright film at all, but it's also a little dark in tone and in story. And they start with him journaling about the death of Mrs. Brisby's husband, and so there's a lot going on. So with the first viewing, Tristan, did this feel like a dark movie, or did it just, to your adult sensibilities, did you get to enjoy the story, not focusing as much on the basically what should have been PG-ness of this movie?
This was interesting because I have two kids and they're on the younger side. One is 7, the other's 3. And it's interesting because I see kids movies, or what were supposed to be kids movies, through a very different lens. And we, Darren, you and I were born in the 80s. John was born in the 50s and
40s.
Oh, sorry, 49. And so it's just, we were raised on movies like this. Children's animation was darker. There was more tension, there was more fear, there was more anxiety in movies than there are today, in my opinion. And I don't feel like a swath of children today would be able to handle this movie. Now, is that true for every kid? Of course it's not. The kids in my the kids in my sphere, around the kids that I know, my family, neighbors, friends, everything like that, they're just a much more sensitive lot. And I'm not trying to give some sort of generational bias or say, damn alphas and Gen Z and anything like that. Nothing like that. But it's just, I feel like the movies of today, specifically kids movies of today, are much tamer than this. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. I'm not saying it's bad or good. It's just kind of how I feel it is. And while watching this, there was just so much anxiety right off the bat. Just so much peril.
It is an anxious, that's a great word for it.
And I was just thinking, I was like, my kids wouldn't like this. They just wouldn't like this because it's just too stressful. And again, not saying it's a bad thing, just saying that my kids specifically would feel it too stressful.
I can see what you're saying. I can say also that I think that there would be a segment of the population of those younger than any of the three of us that would find this movie inscrutable in the sense that it requires some paying attention that's not asked for by modern animated features.
Oh, definitely. You have to be on your A game to pick up the plot. Right. You're just getting a surface level story.
Right. And it's just even the big reveal about, where what NIMH means and all of those sorts of things that really sort of, I think, it doesn't have a big showy opening that engages immediately, like that flash of adrenaline sort of thing.
I don't think what I was saying was mutually exclusive to that.
No, I'm not saying it was.
Oh, I'm sorry. It kind of came off as a however. Sorry.
No, more in addition to.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
More in addition to.
My apologies.
Like I'm if I misstated something, I apologize, please. Don't inject me again, doctor.
No, a thousand apologies to you.
A thousand apologies.
No, I bow to you.
I said accept my apology.
All right.
Well,
Anyway.
looking at
Yes.
Disney in this era as we cut through you two. So this was 1982. So in 1981 was The Fox and the Hound, and in 1985 was The Black Cauldron. So yeah, this was not the Disney high point for sure for their
John
era.
has a soft spot for The Black Cauldron.
I'm not saying-
a massive soft spot for The Black Cauldron. I don't look, and I'll cop to it. The Black Cauldron, and I've talked about this with other Gen Xers who have the soft spot where they're like, "Oh, that's a great movie." I'm like, hold on. It's a very emotionally resonant movie. Let's go ahead and leave it at that one and walk away clean. But the thing is, while you're saying that Darren, and the way the conversation has gone, movies undoubtedly reflect the mindset of the time, sort of thing, like an outlook, right? And what I think is incredibly interesting is I'm just thinking of this while you're saying what you're saying. The live action stuff from the Lucas and the Spielberg and that mass market stuff is super positive and happy and engaging and exciting and what you would expect animation to be usually. Whereas animation has taken on as like, well, sci-fi is not being very dark right now. Guess it's up to us. And then you get Secret of NIMH and Black Cauldron and stuff like that. I think I had never thought of it that way, but it's almost as if the animation was like, well, what gap can we fill? Oh, let's try to be grim.
Well, and scholars would probably look back and have better thoughts than I, but there's probably something to be said about the life cycle of animation. The fact that it is being established enough at this point that you can try darker themes, and you may not make as much money, but you don't know. It's not a foregone conclusion, as opposed to we have to make it the most mass marketable thing to even start our animation. Now that still also is Don Bluth, who is exactly starting his animation. Now I want to read this bit from Wikipedia, and it's talking about some of the techniques in Secret of NIMH, because it encapsulates just a lot of the wizardry that was going into this movie. So among the techniques experimented with on Secret of NIMH were rotoscoping, multiple passes of the camera to achieve transparent shadows, backlit animation, where they were shot with lighting effects through colored gels to produce glowing areas of artificial light and fire, multiple color palettes for characters to fit different lighting situations for daylight, night, warm environments, underwater. An example is Miss Brisby had 46 different lighting situations. So there were 46 color palettes, 2 motion, and they built 2 modern computerized versions of the multiplane camera to do this movie. So like they were bootstrapping hard, and it's all on the screen. Like I feel like it's almost a director's trademark, the glowing effect. Like you will see it in many of his movies, and they use it so captivating in this. The eyes of Nicodemus always kind of creep me out, but you remember it. Like it sears into your little brain. The owl, the sparkly, medallion, just all sorts of places. There's so much texture. Yeah, there's so many different things in this movie that it has been a while since I had watched this. I mean, I watched it probably in the late 90s, like someone had it on tape or something like that. But I haven't been back to it in many, 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 many years. So for me, it was enjoyable to kind of fresh eyes, not new eyes, but fresh eyes, watch it, really listen. Like probably the first time I actually listened to what Nicodemus says in the whole beginning, because you don't even see anybody. It's like his hands and a monologue, which for a kid is not the most engaging of shots.
Again, like with the early 80s, there was almost like this odd obsession, and the late 70s as well, with like, you have the way Dune opens and stuff like that, where it's like, this is sort of in that tradition of like, we're going to give you lots of talking with sort of pictures to look at. And it's like, hey, I feel a little ripped off here. But I think that it is very artfully done.
Oh, definitely.
But I think that things like the opening are kind of a misjudgment because it is something where it immediately is asking a lot of the audience. I'm not saying that the audience is dumb or that anybody, I'm saying like there feels like there could have been either a different beat right beforehand or some other bridging beat that gets us to, I don't know what, but the way that it starts is, I think, a little bit of a misjudgment. It's a little bit of an attempt at establishing mystery, but I don't know how effective it is at grasping your attention right away. Like, it is that whole thing of like, okay, what's going on? But I'm not saying like, ooh, what's the mystery? I'm saying what's going on.
Right. It's dropping a lot of names. It's told kind of in third-ish person after the fact, which is an interesting style. It's, and I was just captivated by, again, the animation, the pulling the magic dust out of the inkwell and writing in. I mean, I'm like, I don't even know what you're saying, but it's amazing what you're writing. How did that come across to you, Tristan, as a first viewer? Were you hooked? Did you feel like this opening bit kind of stayed consistent with the tone overall of the movie, or were you just like, who with the what now?
I actually had to turn on the subtitles because I think it's
always something your director wants to hear.
It's like, what is this, a Nolan picture? No, it's I think it was Derek Jacobi who was
yes,
and he was trying to.
He's rolling his O's old. A lot. Yeah.
He tried to sound so old.
And a lot of whisper talk.
Mr. Johnson was dead, and so I took it down. Yeah. And so it was a little hard to understand. So it kind of annoyed me because it was hard to understand. So I turned on the subtitles and I was like, wow, this is a lot of information. And then I felt like, I was like, it started off so magical. I was like, okay, we can see through. We can see people through this magical thing. Like we got magic dust and it's glowing and everything like that. But then the magic didn't stay consistent. Whereas
now,
it's like,
a tale of the farm, and you're like, wait, what? Where's the magic? And it comes back in the third act. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
And then like I see the image of the tractor that's like all broken down and overgrown and everything like that. And part of me was just like, oh God, is this post-apocalyptic? Like, is this like is this like Planet of the Rats? Like what's going on here? And then we realize, oh, they're on an actual working farm, and it's just a terrible farmer who left that to rot. And so it kind of started an uneven pace because you have an opening with magic and hard to understand words and a lot of exposition, and then we jump into something that was seemingly unrelated and had no magic for a very long time. And so it kind of felt uneven and weird to me. And so to answer your question, no, I did not felt like it matched the tone.
Well, and here's the interesting, I mean, I haven't read the book, but it's based off of a book, Mrs. Frisbee and the Rants of NIMH. And which one thing you might notice, Tristan, is she's not Miss Frisbee, she's Miss Brisbee because copyright and or trademark, whatever the term is. So they had to, after the fact, kind of adjust that because the Frisbee company was like, yeah, it's too close. We don't like that. So they actually, some of the lines, they had to take the burr sounds from other recordings and insert it because some of the performers weren't able to re-record their Mrs. Brisbee lines.
That stuff like that just always annoys the crap out of me.
Free marketing, Frisbee. Like, come on, like,
but on top, it's just so dumb. Like, yes, I get it. I mean, it was like, well, if we let this slide, then we have to let all of them slide and precedent, blah blah blah. But it's like this is just the sort of thing where it's just like it's just so idiotic when they. Draw
I
these
read
lines.
about that, Darren. I read about that, and as you guys know, I work in video production, and I've had to do crap like that for dozens of times throughout the years that I've been in video production, and I immediately thought of the poor editors, the poor audio engineers who, like, Bluth just goes them and say, like, okay, so here's what we got to do, and you just got to go, well, there goes my weekend.
Yeah. Well, and it's not even like her name was like Elizabeth Brisby and she's normally called Elizabeth. No, every single time someone talks about the main character of your movie, they have to change it.
You know, it's sort of like Phantom of the Paradise, I think, the De Palma movie, where they had like a record label name in it that I think it was like Led Zeppelin's record company. If I'm getting a fact wrong out there, nerds, okay, whatever. But like, as I recall, it was like there was a record company that was like, hey, the fictional record company name is too close to ours. And so there are shots where they like had to crop things in post and had to like blur things out in the background and stuff like that. And it's like, that's the type of stuff. Like, it's just, yes, Tristan, you're right. The poor people that had to, you know, I'm eating my cup of noodles and it's like, hey, well, and we got to have it done by Monday. We got to have it by what now? I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah. Ugh.
Well, and see, that makes me think of, on the other end of the spectrum, on the positive, I mean, we haven't gotten to Wallace and Gromit yet, which is on the list someday. But one of the little notes about Wallace and Gromit is he loves cheese, and he goes to the moon to find cheese. It's a very simple story, but he's looking for cheese, and he says, "I'm looking for a Wensleydale," which is a type of cheese. And apparently they animated that because it made a nice toothy smile as he said it. Only reason. Little did they know that the Wensleydale Cheese Company was like literally going bankrupt. This movie comes out, popularity spikes, and it saves the company. And I'm like, that is what film should be for. That's Reese's Pieces, you know, given a spike in E.T. So that's what it should be. I was
just reading about that kind of thing where when Sideways came out and Paul Giamatti's character says, "I'm not drinking effing Merlot," and he's just screaming it. And the reason why he didn't want to drink Merlot is because his ex-wife or ex-girlfriend or something like that loved Merlot. But the audience took it as like, oh, wait, a wine snob doesn't like Merlot? I probably shouldn't drink Merlot either. And their sales plummeted after that movie. And this goes as far back as we studied this in college, where Clark Gable in It Happened One Night.
I remember that.
Like he's in the room with the female lead, and he takes off a shirt, and he's not wearing an undershirt. That was a big deal back then. It was just he just had a button down shirt and then no shirt underneath. Undershirts sales were affected post this movie because of it. Like, movies wield such crazy financial power from impressionable audiences, and I always find that stuff fascinating.
So. Suddenly I'm rethinking some positions about how influential movies are on people's behavior. I'm kind of like, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe my point's getting undone here.
Have you ever seen The Doors? Go. It's really interesting. It teaches you about the life and history of the band. And
I'm actually, sorry, I'm booking a flight right now to fly out and slap Tristan. So I'll be quiet for just a moment.
All right. Well, let's talk about the music for a moment in this movie. This is Jerry Goldsmith, who we've heard many times here on Houselights, and this is actually his first animated feature. And I think he went actually the extra mile, I read, and did a little bit of extra sweetening, not because he needed to, but because he loved the score so much. And while I can't particularly pick out a melody from this in my memory, even having just watched it, it's still a lovely score. Like, it, you know, there's like a song in it where she's singing the lullaby, you know, to her son, her sick son. But it's a perfectly decent 80s score. Like, it sounds like something of Disney caliber. It sounds like something you would expect. So, John, was this, you know, are you going, not that you're going out to buy the record, but what did you think of the score overall? Or, I mean, it's a good score. It's a good score.
You know, it fits. It's, I think that Goldsmith tries to bring a little bit of that emotional, flair, you know, sort of like what Williams is known for, especially during this time period of like, I'm going to give it a little extra oomph to try to deliver the point.
Right. This
connect with the audience.
Moment is supposed to feel like this. And you
exactly.
accent.
Just in case we're not getting you there visually and with the dialogue, let me give you this little spin here and try to get you across. So, yeah, I mean, which is, Goldsmith is one of the greats. So good choice bringing him in.
Well, and it would pay off, huge dividends later, because I believe it was through Goldsmith's connection that Don Bluth met Steven Spielberg, which would go on to their collaboration with American Tail, which made a lot more money than this movie did. So we'll definitely take that connection. Yeah, this movie had a budget of $6 to $7 million. When we're talking mortgaging your house to finish it. Also a profit sharing, set up by Don Bluth, where, first set of profits were offered to his animators, which is unheard of, especially at that time.
Yeah, that no one did that. No, at that time, no one did that. And that's just such a huge sign of respect to the animators. And at the same time,
right.
Hey,
and if you don't make any money, then you don't get paid. And so, yeah, it's an all or nothing tactic for sure. But yeah, I think overall this one did better it made more money, definitely because of home rental. I mean, in a non-home rental world, this dies a fiery death, I think, with around 14 to 15 million total. But yeah, so it'll be interesting as we go through Don Bluth's lineup, because this was not the breakout success I think they were hoping for, but it wasn't the nail in the coffin. The fledgling production company still had enough in it to keep going. They had to, probably scale back the grandeur of what they wanted to accomplish in film number 2 and 3. But overall, I don't know exactly what else was coming out in July 2nd of 82, but I think it had quite a stack against it. And it just,
there was competition in the summer of 82 for sure. Yeah. I think that when it was released, I am going to have to, let's see here. My gosh, Star Trek was Star Trek 2 in the mix at that point.
Let's see, Poltergeist, Rocky 2, Firefox, and Star Trek: Wrath of Khan were all.
That would have been Rocky
during
3
that time,
not 2.
Oh, sorry, Rocky 3. Their eyes.
That would have been Rocky 3.
Merge them together.
Yeah. Darn those Roman numerals.
And E.T.
Oof.
Little film you might have heard of.
Well, and again, and that's the thing as well, where it's like, yeah, but it wasn't released the same weekend or whatever. But I think it is important context to keep reminding people. Yes, but back then movie theaters weren't multiplexes. There was like one or two screens. So, people
everybody's playing E.T.
Yes.
There's no other kid market.
Yeah,
there's very little oxygen.
And oftentimes these movies had legs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, E.T. was probably out for a year at least.
It was huge. Yeah, it was. I mean, it held the number 1 spot until Titanic, didn't it? In terms of like the raw box office revenue.
I think it was Star Wars and then Titanic, wasn't it?
No, oh gosh, for some reason I'm pretty sure.
Before we throw numbers around,
it was
some of us should probably look at this up.
It was E.T., but then Star Wars took it back when it was re-released in '97. Which is why they had the thing of E.T. putting the crown back on R2's head.
Yes.
Then when Titanic took...
Jaws is also somewhere in this list, because I know there was a bit... we're all thinking about the newspaper images.
We're thinking of the image of the Titanic sinking, and the cast of Star Wars is on the sinking ship, I think.
Yes. Although...
Oh, geez.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what?
These were big movies, made money.
We're gonna go ahead and settle it this way. None of us got a dime. Next point.
So let's go into some of these acting roles. So Dom DeLuise was the only character that I knew, actor off of the top of my head. But I also loved, after looking it up, that you had her. I'm going to say Hermione, which is probably not how it's pronounced, but this is a post.
No, it's Hermione.
Okay, I was going to say a post Harry Potter world. Hermione Baddeley is Auntie Shrew. You might know her as the domestic from Mary Poppins, and this, I think, was her final film role. So, yeah, I mean, we already mentioned, Nicodemus being played by Derek Jacobi, even Miss Brisby with Elizabeth Hartman. So it's a relatively small cast. There's not a ton going. Okay,
You're
what did I skip?
You're going
What
to
did I
dance
skip?
by Edie McClurg?
Okay, I won't.
Mainstay of American cinema in the 1980s as Miss Wright? Come on now.
Also, Will Wheaton and Shannon Doherty.
Oh, that's right. Will Wheaton was on there. That's correct.
Yes.
It always blows my mind when I'm reminded of, like Shannon Doherty in specific, because when because of my age, all I can think of with her is like 90210 or whatever. Like that's it. And I'm like, oh, right. She did stuff other than that. So
this was her first role, I think.
I know, but I'm
Will
just saying,
Wheaton
like,
as well, I think all the little kids.
Well, how young? Because when did Stand By Me come out? Like 86, 87?
Well, sorry, I think it's his first animated role.
Okay,
not necessarily his first role.
No, still, it's a good cast. I mean, John Carradine as the
Stand By
Great
Me was
Owl.
86. Sorry, just
but John Carradine as the Great Owl, like that was a voice that especially the parents in the audience would have really responded to. Like that was an established actor with a lot of history behind him. And, like that's one of those things that I think should be called out is this is in the era before they unlocked the idea of everybody is a star that we're going to cast in this to bring them in.
Going to cast actual voice actors for the most part, for the big roles.
For the correct voice in the role.
I felt like Peter Strauss as Justin and Paul Sheenar as Jenner, I think, were the standouts for me personally.
Oh, every time they were talking was amazing.
Yeah, fair.
And they both started with J. So, gosh,
Jeremy, Justin, Jenner.
I mean, and it's so funny. Like I mentioned, first name off the list that I recognized was Dom DeLuise, because man, he is a presence. Like, I hope you guys like Dom DeLuise, guys, because we're going to get quite a bit of Dom over the next couple of chapters here on Houselights. But, it's almost like they just give him a microphone and just say, here you go. Like, nothing critical about Dom, but I don't feel like it's ever a different voice or different characterization. It's just you're hiring Dom reading your words. That's what you're getting. He just got off the set of Cannonball Run, and he's going to talk like a bird or something like that.
Yeah, that's fair. But the thing is, again, especially it's not a 1-to-1, not at all. But it's like when you were casting Dom DeLuise, it's sort of like somebody saying, like, let's cast Robin Williams in Aladdin. It's like you knew what energy you were going to get, and that's why you cast him. And so, is it terribly diverse? No, but you wanted that energy, and so it's shorthand. It's like, who can do this for me? It's, we make reference to this all the time. It's Nolan leaning on Michael Caine. Well, I need somebody who's going to pay the Tenet guy. Get Mike, call him real quick. That sort of thing.
Right. Give him a reasonably large check, and he'll be there.
Exactly.
No problem. All right. Well, we've covered a bit of animation. We've covered, budget and acting. Yeah, it's also a short movie. It's like 83 minutes. I mean, this is very, very quick. And like most good plots, like once the climax happens, it is like done. It is getting out of there as fast as possible. But I do remember reading that there was a lot of shifts in this plot from the book and through a couple different revisions and massages. I believe the book was much more about the rats and their escape, which we kind of get in flashback for like 2 minutes. But I do like looking and kind of deconstructing how they focus the plot, because it is a good example of, okay, choosing to draw out Miss Brisby and like, this is going to be the focus of her arc and where is she going? I think they noted, like, she is the one who escapes the cage in the human house, as opposed to being rescued by the rats. Because if she is not progressing, well, she's your main character. She needs to be the one evolving. So there's a lot of good checks. This story, things are doing right. She's not controlled by the other forces of this narrative. Instead, she is leading the way. And we hear her name like a million times, but So I champion this movie for how it builds plot, because I think it gets a lot of things right in that aspect.
I think it has it's definitely focused. Like it it goes through. I'm personally of the opinion that it is dense enough and complex enough on certain levels that it could have used more time. I think that the disadvantage that the movie winds up having out of the gate is that it's not being funded and powered by a Disney. I don't think it would have been as beautiful if Disney had opted to buy the rights to this. It wouldn't, especially the era where it was built. This would have been a mass-produced, forgettable Disney movie. Instead, the shortcomings of the movie are made up for by the artistry on screen, by the different techniques that they used. But I think that this is very obviously a film being put together by a group of people who want to prove technique as opposed to carrying out like a particular focus on storytelling.
Yeah, their mandate is, we want to go back to the traditions that we felt that Disney was moving away from, which is why we left Disney.
Right.
What did you think, Tristan, as far as plot and form?
Okay.
Buckle up.
Here's where we get into the meat of the conversation, in my opinion. When I first started watching this, I actually had the thought, why is there magic? And as we continued to go throughout and we get it peppered in very rarely, I was like, man, this movie would have been much more solid if they didn't have magic and they focused more on the rats. And then when I looked up the original source material after I finished the movie, I was like, oh, holy crap. The book has no magic, is rooted in science and the intelligence of the rats, and is focused more on the rats and how they help Frisbee. And I personally think that's spot on. I had a lot of issues with this movie. I had a lot of issues with the story. I think everything that we've talked about up until this point, I've been on board, where I'm just like, the artistry of it is really cool. The tone is really cool. John, you talked about the color palette, the vibe, the energy that about it is very unique. I think it's very interesting, and it absolutely would have been soulless if Disney packaged it and sold it. I mean, this is pre Little Mermaid Disney, but post Jungle Book and all that. And so this is kind of a dark time for Disney, and Bluth understood that and wanted to go in a different direction. And I think I definitely applaud him and his cohorts for giving us something unique and different than what Disney was giving us. But at the same time, this movie felt like a series of vignettes where it's like, oh, Brisby meets the crow, Brisby meets the owl, Brisby meets Aegis, Brisby meets so and so, Brisby meets, like, has a battle with the rat, Brisby. It's just like,
kind
it's
of
just
like chapters in a kid's book where they're all really short.
Mm-hmm.
That's
like
exactly how
happens.
it feels.
Yeah.
And for some people, that might be a positive. And, for some people are just like, oh yeah, Darren, like you said, like, hey, it's like a children's book. And I think that's fantastic if that turns you on. But to me, it felt less cohesive of a story and just something that it felt like I know this is weird to say considering when it came out, but it felt like a web series where it kind of like the Clone Wars micro series, where it's a bunch of little vignettes. And then when it came out on DVD, it was all packaged together. That's kind of what it felt like to me. And it's just,
or like Over the Garden Wall. Like it's gorgeous, but it's very vignette-y, which isn't a word, but
yes, vignette. I like it. I think
vignette. It's now been said 3 times.
V for Vendetti.
Yeah.
Ooh, but and I'm not trying to go on and rag on and everything like that, but it just, I mean, to get to the heart of the matter
of it.
Yeah,
to get to the heart of it, it felt like the magic felt so wasted and useless when you have such a great plot point with rats becoming intelligent because of science experimentation, and then Brisby, becoming a stronger person and like relying on herself and her own wits, even though her husband died and he was the hero that everybody loved, she became the hero. But then all of a sudden it was completely stripped away because of the power of love and belief from a magical amulet instead of her own wits and determination. Ugh.
I think we're possibly talking past each other. I feel like we're all saying sort of the same thing about the storytelling. Tristan's just being mean about it. And I think that there is a thing where, this movie's going for the vibe. They're proving they're proving out they can do what they set out to do with the animation. So I think looking at it from a director's podcast perspective, I completely agree with the criticisms. This is not somebody who's telling a linear story. This is somebody who is just putting things together. And the ultimate question becomes, is the vibe enough to carry you through? And I can tell you that for the people who were kids that saw it back in the 80s, my ex-girlfriend being one of them, that vibe was enough. And that vibe was a core memory, and they adored it. When I first encountered it, I basically felt a lot stronger about the storytelling shortcomings. This watch, I softened a little bit. I still have those complaints, but maybe it's just one of those things where it's like I was just happy to see the animation again and see this style, and it's not too clean, and it's not like what happened with the Simpsons animation over the last 36 years where it's like, oh, okay, they're just running this through a computer now. That's less interesting. It's too perfect. It's too crisp. This has that feeling of like artists at work, and that just carries a certain energy with it. So I think that like it's almost like this viewing has swung the pendulum for me to make the storytelling shortcomings less of a sticking point for me. And that's just because the vibe, I'm like, yeah, okay, it's a vibey thing. I get it.
It kind of makes me think of when I was studying film at school, and I really wanted to do special effects in my movie. I wanted to do green screen. I wanted to do models. I wanted to do a set. And I did those three things. But the story was second to those things because that's what I really wanted to do. And if I had to do anything different in that, time, I really should have doubled down on the time I spent on the story. And I think there is a truth to that in Secret of NIMH, where they we want to go out and draw it like this and like you said, John, and prove that we can do this and that. And not that the story's terrible, but it is not like at the end, I remember the visuals. I don't remember the story. It's kind of forgettable in that aspect, but it gets a lot of forgiveness and grace because it is so visually stunning and new. It hadn't been seen before, like some of the things that they were doing. So, all right. Well, as we round the cinder block on our way to the Lee side, there's a lot of vocabulary in this, guys. They're expecting kids to know. So I'm just saying, but this could be interesting, guys, because we have not done an animated feature with our friend Lance Reddick. So I guess it's the voice of Lance Reddick that we're going to insert into this. Oh man, again, not the largest of casts. I think I'm going to go with, again, no besmirch on the actual performance, but I want to hear Lance as Nicodemus, that deep, not monotone, but just, telling us a story, maybe whispering a little less. But I'm going to place him as Nicodemus, which is an awesome name for like a character. Like you're instantly interested in what this guy is going to be like. So John, where are you vocal casting Lance Reddick?
Same choice, because I think that I think he would have been, even if the director kept saying, no, quieter, less intelligible, I think that Lance Reddick would have just been incapable of being that quiet. And I would have been able to hear him a lot better and plugged into what was going on.
All right. What about you, Tristan?
Even though Paul Shinar as Jenner was one of my favorite performances in the movie, I feel like it would have been interesting to hear Reddick play the bad guy.
That was a close second for me.
Well. I feel like he would have done a really solid job. And that kind of leads into my other point of what I didn't like about this movie, where the antagonist was so weak. It felt like an afterthought. on how,
But
because
his PowerPoint presentation was slightly weaker than the main person's PowerPoint presentation.
it was weak and late in the film. And is he really the antagonist? It felt so half-hearted. Yeah, this movie has so many things going right for it, but the meat of it, the purpose of it, like when I finished it, I was just like, what a pointless story. And I shouldn't be feeling that when I finish the movie and get, like when I see something so visually cool and something with so much potential and energy and something that's very stunning. And then the script felt like an afterthought.
All right. Well, just lead us in then, Tristan, with your final thoughts, your final afterthoughts.
Yeah, I think I hit it pretty hard. I mean, it's just man. I think this is, whew, man. I think I want to give it a 2, but I'm going to give it a 2.5, because of what it was trying to do. I know that people love this movie, and I know that it connected with a huge audience, especially kids and people who are millennials and Gen Xers. Looking back, I totally get it. I'm saying this from my own perspective. I don't have rose-colored glasses towards this. Like, I don't have any nostalgia weighing my opinions. This is from a fresh take from today. Don't hate me. I love what you love, but to me, I would have preferred a much stronger script in order to bring this movie home. And so I'm going to give it 2.5 stars.
All right. And what about you, Gen Xer John? Tell us what it is.
I'm not far off from Tristan. It's a 3, and it's a solid 3, because I think that once you get past that opening and you're like, okay, I know what I'm in for on this. And I know that it's not going to be the work that I think we're going to get later from Bluth, in terms of some of the entries that I think this is this is a first time foray for a director finding his feet. And I think that the art is enough to keep me engaged during it. But yeah, I mean, there are obviously shortcomings. So I'm a solid 3.
All right. I too am a 3. I don't really have a nostalgia factor for this as well, but I think what keeps it up is just I enjoyed the visual beauty of this movie this time around. Like I said, I tried to listen more to the actual dialogue and like what the actual plot is. I was just blown away. Maybe because I'm older now and just thinking about what I know about production and just like, how did you put that on screen in 82? You're like, I'm going to have dust and magic and water and light, and they're painting with a canvas beyond what we had seen at that time. Like, it is amazing and incredible, and it would definitely make me go, okay, I want to see what they have next. Maybe a little more plot, a little less mumble, but yeah, it's definitely a solid 3 in this movie. And yeah, we'll get a little more Dom DeLuise, I'm sure, as we continue. But yeah, it was really cool though to visualize this with you guys, and as we enjoy this new house of Don Bluth, we are going to jump. It's going to be like 4 years, guys, because you know what? Animation takes a bit of time to make back then. So we're going to be talking next week about An American Tale from 1986 here on Houselights.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.